Welcome to the channel, y'all. Peace and positivity, where I'm just want to add a little peace and positivity to your life. Okay. Today we're gonna be going through the book "The Power of Now" by Eckhart Tolle. We're gonna be doing a full breakdown of it, and today we just gonna be going into the introduction. Now, this book, if you never read it, it's about abolishing the ego, so to speak, being in the present moment, knowing that life can be great for you here and now in the present moment. A lot of times we so far in the future without thinking. We so far in the past without thinking, and the world seems like it's just coming down on us. And sometimes it's not even the world coming down on us. It's just a lot of mental suffering that's going on, a lot of negative narratives. And in this book, Eckhart teaches us how to be in the present moment so where those things don't happen. We can have that internal and eternal peace and joy every day. So it's a powerful book. If you've never read it, I suggest you go out and buy it. If you don't like reading, get it on Audible. Can't get it on Audible. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it on YouTube for free. Okay, so powerful book. It's gonna bring a lot of peace in your life. So let's do a breakdown of it. Okay. So on the screen, what you're gonna see is I have certain bullet points here, and we're just gonna touch on all the bullet points. I'm gonna give you a breakdown on it. By the end of the presentation, then maybe you'll have a little bit more happiness and joy in your life, or have a little bit more of an understanding of the book. But please get the book. It's one of those ones that can really change your life. Okay. So starting off, we in the introduction right now. The origin of this book, it states right here: I have little use for the past and rarely think about it. Reason this is a bullet point, and I wanted to make a point about this, is because a lot of people, they think about the past a lot, whether they thinking about past trauma, how they were treated as a kid, how somebody did them wrong. Maybe they was in a relationship, abusive relationship. And if you constantly think about those things over and over and over again, you're never going to be happy because you're constantly thinking about something that's negative and you're being out of the present moment. There, I forget how many, it's supposed to be like 60 some thousand thoughts a day. And the majority of them are negative thoughts, right? For a lot of people, not for everybody, but for a lot of people. And if you're one of those people where you know that predominantly your thoughts are probably negative, if you're aware enough to know that, or maybe you're one of those people that's just going through a lot of suffering right now, if you take a look at it, it's probably coming from a lot of negative thinking. That's probably part of it. Now, everybody doesn't go through suffering and negative thinking like that, but for those that do and need need a place and space of ease and to relieve their suffering, this book is going to be a good one for you to help with that. Okay, so Eckhart is saying he has very little use of the past, right? Everything that happened to you in the past, once you're in the present moment, once you're happy, once you got joy, once you got peace, you don't have to think about the past so much, whether something bad happened in it or something good happened in it. It really doesn't matter because your present moment is what's bringing you happiness and joy and peace. Again, even if the past wasn't negative, right, or you don't have a bad narrative going on and just great things happen, that's fine. But the present moment is still where it's at. The present moment is where you want to be. A lot of people get overtaken by fear of what's going to happen in the future, worrying and stressing. What if this don't go right? What if that don't go right? And again, it's just having a negative narrative play out in your head over and over and over again. Now, let's say you got a positive narrative going in your head, and let's say you're doing a lot of visualizing and this, then, and third, and something doesn't go your way. So now you fall right back into that space of negative thinking where I thought this was going to happen, it didn't happen. I thought this was going to happen, it didn't happen. So Eckhart, through this book, is going to show us how to remain in the present moment. That doesn't mean that you don't go after your goals and pursue certain things in life. You can still have a new car, the house, and this, then, the third, but your happiness and joy isn't dependent on it. So if you going for the new house and you don't get it, let's say July the 3rd, because you expected to get it July the 3rd, you had a goal on getting July the 3rd, and it didn't happen. Now you're not suffering. You can stay in a place of peace and joy, and maybe you get the house on September the 14th. But from July the 3rd through September the 14th, what people usually do is they suffer in that space. They get down on themselves. They get upset. They try to figure out it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? How can I make it happen? And that whole process is a suffering process. And little do you know, if you can stay in that peace and that calm, which you can do it. Eckhart is going to show us in this book. You stay in that peace and that calm, and you would have had a nice ride the whole time getting to that new house. Even though it didn't happen on the day you wanted it, it's still going to happen for you. So that's what this book is going to help us with. Okay, so right here off top, I have little use for the past and rarely think about it. He is not stuck in the past. You don't have to be either. We're going to deal with the present moment. Okay, let's go on to this next statement. I live in a state of almost continuous anxiety interspersed with periods of suicidal depression. Now, a lot of people can relate to this because, again, that overthinking, life not going right, you didn't get the job, maybe you lost your job, what's going on in the news, they closing the borders and we ain't gonna be able to get food, it's a food shortage. If you watch all the news, all of that stuff can compile on you and just cause a lot of worry, fear, stress. You start dealing with these emotions, anxiety, guilt, like he said, suicidal depression. So he's really going through it if he's having thoughts and periods of suicidal incidents. You know what I mean? So he's going through it, and a lot of people go through those things. Some people suffer in silence. Some people reach out for help. And again, the purpose of this channel is just to bring some peace and positivity into your life to kind of remove some of that anguish that people are going through. I ain't no psychiatrist, therapist, or nothing like that. I've just been on my own personal journey, and sometimes these books help. And this is one of those books that are really, if you can really understand the principles of it and understand what's being said, it'll help you grow in consciousness a great deal. Okay. So Eckhart Tolle saying he's going through the present state. It feels now, we down here at this next point, it feels now as if I am talking about someone, some past lifetime or somebody else's life. That's because Eckhart Tolle now is at the point of where, he's living an awakened lifestyle or in a light or in an enlightened state. And it doesn't mean everything in the world goes his way. It doesn't mean everything is perfect or goes right, but their presence, their state of being, their sense of self is always there. It's never leaving. It's never going away. When you become awakened and you get in that enlightened state, you start seeing life different. And that space is always going to be there. What tends to happen is we cover it up with stress and strife and et cetera, and we may forget about it, but it's never gone. It's never not there. We just have to come to that realization. And once we get to that space, we have to, I don't want to say remember or remind ourselves, because when you're really in that space, you won't have to remember and remind yourself. But it may be a process getting to that point of, okay, I'm fully here now. Because we can get glimpses of it and we can get, okay, boom, life is, everything is smooth and going good. But a lot of times they'll be based on external things. Okay, I got the good car, I got the car, I got a job, okay, life is great, cool, I'm good. And then maybe something happens to the car and the job, and now you're not so great. That's not what he's speaking about. That's based on finding happiness in external things. We talking about whether the car and the job is there or not, you're still at a place of peace. Okay. You may not be at a place of excitement, right? You may not be in a place of enthusiasm, but you are in a place of peace and you have that inner joy and you're not suffering. Okay. You're not suffering. So let's move on to the next one. Okay. Okay, so this next slide, this next statement here. I woke up in the early hours with a feeling of absolute dread. I had woken up with such a feeling many times before, but this time it was more intense than it had ever been. So life sucks, right? And life sucks. Now, in this book, he don't say go into like if he didn't have a car, a job, or this and the third. It really doesn't matter what the circumstances that are leading up to it, because some people, even celebrities, have all the money in the world. You know what I mean? The best looking woman, the best looking guy, got the children, the white picket fence, and all of that, and they still don't have a sense of wholeness. They don't have joy, and they don't have happiness. So it doesn't matter. You can be the richest person or the poorest person. You can have everything or have nothing, but anybody can be in that space of dread and suffering and just unhappiness. And Eckhart saying it's the most intense it's ever been. Okay, so let's keep going. Everything felt so alien, so hostile, and so utterly meaningless that it created in me a deep loathing of the world. You start to hate life. You don't want to get up out of that bed no more. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to talk to your spouse. You don't want to deal with your kids. You can really go to a very unpleasant place of suffering if you don't do something about it. It can really go downward. I don't want to say downward, but it can really go in an unpleasant space if you don't do something about it, right? And it can go so unpleasant to where you just got to start seeking help. And again, suffering is definitely a catalyst for the awakening process or enlightenment, because you can suffer so much to it's like, man, I finally got to do something. You can suffer to the point to where you just like forget it. Like he was saying, he was having suicidal thoughts and take yourself out. I mean, that's possible. Well, who wants to go that route? We don't have to go that route because it's not necessary. If you're going through a form of suffering, this video right here may be the catalyst that could, may be the key that change things around for you. Because again, awakening and enlightenment can come about through intense suffering because you just get tired of suffering so much. It's just like at that job. I hate this job. I don't want to be here. Then you go looking for something else. So it's kind of like that. Okay. Let's keep moving on. Let's get to this next point. I can feel that a deep longing for annihilation, for non-existent, was now becoming much stronger than the instinctive desire to continue to live. Things that just got too bad. Again, he don't have a sense of wholeness. He don't have anything. Everything's gone awry. He's just not happy. And that happens. And we don't want to get to that point. Some people might already be at that point. That's what led you to this video. That's what led you to this book. Or you trying to find some kind of way out. Again, I promise you this book can help. Okay. That's where Eckhart is at. He's really ready to stop living. Let's keep going. Okay. Here we go. I cannot live with myself any longer. This was the thought that kept repeating in my mind. So he don't want to live no more. He don't want to live no more. He already had suicidal depression. He's loathing life. Nothing's going right. I can't live with myself any longer. Now let's look at this next statement right here. So we already set up that he's suffering, he's not happy. Now you see I got two words underlined right here because I want y'all to catch this. It says, then suddenly I became aware of what a peculiar thought it was. So it happened suddenly. And it really didn't happen suddenly. It was really a process because, again, he was suffering this whole way. So that was part of the process. The suffering was part of the process. And again, like I said, you don't have to suffer to get into enlightenment or awakening into a higher form of consciousness and higher thought process. You don't have to, but that's usually the process that it takes. That's usually the catalyst that it takes. People go through suffering and an intense amount of suffering, and then they start to change. Now, some people's awakening or the elevation in consciousness doesn't happen suddenly, right? That's why I underline it. Sometimes it's still a process. Sometimes it's a process of reading, studying, meditating, whatever the case may be. But in this instant, this is the awakening process right here for Eckhart Tolle. Now, I'm using the word awakening. He's not, but he'll use that term later in the book. So then suddenly I became aware of what a peculiar thought it was. Now he has an awareness of something he didn't have before. This awareness was never there before. Remember, only suffering was there. But the suffering has caused something to happen. That's the suddenly, and it caused awareness to happen. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me. That's the awareness that came about. There must be two of me. Am I one or am I two? Who is this that's suffering? And who is this that's aware of the suffering? Okay. The I and the self that I cannot live without. Maybe I thought only one of them is real. So there's an awareness, and then there's the thought. Suddenly I became aware of what a peculiar thought that was. So there's a separation now of the negative thinking and the awareness that's viewing the negative thinking. Before that, he was identified with the negative thinking. Life was sucked. It wasn't great. I hate life. I'm ready to die. Suicide. Life was loathsome. These were all the terms. Now suddenly there's a space in between there where he's aware that those are just thoughts. They're not me. They're just thoughts. So there's an awakening happening right now. Okay. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me. Okay, let's keep going. I was fully conscious but there were no more thoughts. So in this awakening that he's going through, now he's fully conscious, but there are no more thoughts. And I want to point out, there are no positive thoughts or negative thoughts. There are no more negative thoughts or positive thoughts. Thoughts are gone. There's just consciousness. There's just awareness. He didn't crack the seal, so to speak. And again, this is not something he was seeking. Some people go on a journey of personal growth and they're intentional about it. Some people go on their personal or their spiritual journey and they're intentional about it. But what's happened to Eckhart is he's not looking for to how to make his life better. He was at the point where it sounded like he wanted to end his life. He was having the suicidal depression, suicidal thoughts. He was ready to check out. But the intensity of the suffering caused something to happen. So right now, he says, I was fully conscious, but there were no more thoughts. Key point, no negative or no positive thoughts, okay? Let's keep going. I was gripped by an intense fear. I don't know if y'all look at Eckhart Tolle, YouTube his videos, he got thousands of lectures and questions and answer forums talking about enlightenment, the ego, living a better life. He got thousands of them. He's a very calm person. He's not enthusiastic, exciting. He has a very much calmness about himself, okay? But in this moment right now, he was gripped in intense fear. I want to point that out because let's keep going. And my body started to shake, heard the words resist nothing as if spoken inside my chest, right? If spoken inside my chest. So whatever was happening to him internally, right? Because nobody else is involved in whatever is going on. This is happening internally. Resist nothing, okay? Resist nothing. He was afraid. There's fear there. He's scared. He don't know what's happening. He really hadn't let go yet of whatever he's going through. It's making him afraid. Let's keep going. I could feel myself being sucked into a void. It felt as if the void was inside myself rather than outside myself. Again, he's going through this awakening process. And because Eckhart is not on a spiritual path or a personal journey at this point, he does not know what's happening to him. He has no ideas. And later in the book, he says he goes on to read spiritual texts and learn from other masters and stuff like that. But at this point, he doesn't know what's happening, so it's frightening to him. But he hears this voice that says, resist nothing, okay? He's starting to go into this void, or at least that's what it felt like, but it was more of an internal void and not an external one because, nothing's happening on the outside. He's still in the room in his house or wherever he's at. It's just something that's internally happening. Let's keep going. Suddenly, there was no fear. There was no more fear, and I let myself fall into that void. I have no recollection of what happened after that. So when he heard the resist nothing, the fear went away. I let myself fall into the void. So he stopped resisting. He stopped fighting. And again, this is his awakening process. Things like this won't always happen. It's not going to always be this big blockbuster event that's happening. But right now, this is kind of the beginning. And honestly, it's not really the beginning because the suffering was part of the process as well. So even the suffering plays a part in him getting to this point. So this is not the beginning. But again, the fear went away. So y'all, sometimes you go through life, you're afraid, changes may be happening, you may be afraid. That's not a time to fear anything. Because when you get in that space of fear, you start lowering your vibration, lowering your frequency, and you start behaving differently and operating differently because you're operating out of fear. So life starts to change for you. But life is changing because you're looking at it through a perception of fear. Nothing's really different other than your perception of what's happening because the change you don't know could be great. The change can be a wonderful thing, but our default reaction mode is fear. It's not opportunity, so to speak. So if a change happened, maybe you lost a job, you're going to look at it from, man, how can I pay these? And I get it. How can I pay these bills? How my family going to eat? What's going to happen? This, then, and the third. And that's fear-based because that's what we normally used to, as opposed to saying, being still, saying, okay, hey, I lost a job. I don't like that happened, but this change will bring about something better. Something better will come out of this change. That's possible to look at it from that perception. It may not be the easiest things to do in the beginning if it's your first time doing it, but operating out of fear is the worst thing we can do. But as you'll see that Eckhart Tolle says, the fear left him. And that fear will leave you in life. You won't always operate out of fear. It won't always be a catalyst to run your life. And again, that's the goal of us going through this book right here, is to see that, hey, fear doesn't have to run your life. We're going to find a way how to operate and live this life without fear, without guilt, without shame, without all these other low frequency and low vibration, emotions. Okay, let's keep moving. It says, I opened my eyes. The first light of dawn was filtering through the curtains. Without any thought, I knew that there is infinitely more to light than we realize. That soft luminosity filtering through the curtains was love itself. So now this is pretty much Eckhart Tolle being reborn again, right? Or born again, so to speak. When you see in the Bible, reading the Bible, people get baptized and they born again. He is now at a new level of consciousness to where even the light that's coming through the curtains and coming through the window, he can appreciate and have gratitude for and know that it plays a huge part in life. It's more than just what meets the eye, so to speak. Yeah, it's light coming in the room and it's illuminating itself, but this life, this source of energy that's coming into here, that's coming into my room, assists me in living life on earth. So for that, I'm very grateful for. So in other words, before it was just light coming through the window. Yeah, it's daytime. Let me go and get out of here. Now, this energy source, this light that's coming through the room is shedding light so that I can see. It's providing warmth so my body can be warm. I'm very appreciative and grateful for the light that's coming from the sun, coming through my window, illuminating everything so I can see. So the sun had always been there. Now he's just viewing it and looking at it from a new perception and a new level of consciousness because he's gone through this awakening, enlightenment, awareness process. So everything is new. Is he new? He is new in a sense. He's new in consciousness. He has the same physical body, and probably his body is operating at a high level as well because the stress and the fear is gone. When you stress, it has an effect on your body. It creates disease. But when you're operating from a higher frequency in a space of love, presence, joy, and being, those diseases start to subside and leave your body. So your body does change in a sense. But now he's looking at light and life through an awakened state. Okay, let's keep going. I recognized the room, and yet I knew that I had never truly seen it before because he hadn't from this new level of consciousness, this new way of thinking, this new perception. Okay, he's born again, he's enlightened, he's awakened, and this is not something that other people can experience. Sometimes when we read these esoteric books, these spiritual books and texts, it seems so far out and so spiritual and so it feels like something that's on such a pedestal that we won't be able to attain it and grasp it. But it's not. It's not something that anybody else can experience. Okay, um, it's something that you have to get to that point, and you will experience it every day. Like the Buddha. The Buddha had his own sense of awareness. The Buddha was a man. He wasn't a god or entity or something like that. I mean, we all are connected to source. We all are God from that point of view. But the Buddha was just a person that walked the earth just like everybody else. He reached a state of awakening and enlightenment. And he just went around teaching and telling everybody. Same way that Jesus came and said, hey, I'm the Son of God. I do these great works and greater works than this, y'all gonna do too. It's not a state or something that is unattainable and unavailable to everybody else. Everybody can have the nice big house if that's what you're looking for, the white picket fence if that's what you're looking for, the great marriage and the two cats and dog and all of that kind of stuff. You can have those things because hey, we here, we on earth, we live in life. Why not go for it? But you don't derive your sense of joy, happiness, and self in those things. And I think that be the problem for a lot of people is that they lose themselves if they don't have anything external. Their life has no value if they didn't get the new job, they didn't get the new car, the wife or the husband leaves them. Of course, nobody wants anything bad to happen to them, but when you stay in that space of presence and being, no matter what happens, you're still going to have that place and space of presence, being, joy, and happiness. And when you operate from that place and that space of joy, being, a lot of these negative things will cease to happen to you. They won't happen. And if something undesirable does happen, you know that the change is for the better and not the worse because you're not going to go into the normal fearful reaction anymore. You're going to be able to stay present and say, okay, this happened, something positive is going to come out of this, as opposed to reacting and going to a negative space. Okay, let's keep going. We down here. Everything was fresh and pristine as if it had just come into existence. Again, that's him being reborn. Okay. That day I walked around the city in utter amazement at the miracle of life on earth, as if I had just been born into this world. And that's what, and again, we already said that he's been born again. He's looking at the world from a new lens, a new perspective, from a higher consciousness, a higher awakening. Okay. For the next 5 months, I lived in a state of uninterrupted deep peace and bliss. He on cloud nine. Got now. The examples I'm using is I got the new house, the car, clothes, this, then, and third. Let me not use those examples because that's a terrible example right now. Right now, he's just in a place of complete bliss, and he's not even mentioning the house, the cars, the clothes, the kids, this, then, and third. He's just happy from a point in space of being and presence and consciousness and awareness with no external things. Even if you read the book, I don't have this key point on here, but if you read the book, he states how he went and he just totally, he didn't give up on life, but he kind of relinquished everything, so to speak. He said he was living on park benches. He didn't, he wasn't doing anything, right? I don't want to call him a bum or homeless, but he was in a state of joy, being, and presence. He had given up his identity to where he living on park benches and he happy. He doesn't have a need to go after the car, the clothes, the jewelry, the women, the this, that, and the third. He don't have a need to do that because he's already found internal, eternal joy and happiness. Okay. And he was on that cloud nine for the next 5 months, it says. Now let's go right here. After that, it diminished somewhat in intensity, or perhaps it just seemed to because it became my natural state. So this cloud nine bliss that he was on, like you said, it seemed to have diminished, but it didn't, or it felt like that because it became his natural state. So what happened was it didn't diminish, he integrated it. And that's what he means by it became his natural state. It became the norm. So a lot of times when the car loses that new car smell and it becomes the norm, the average person will see that as a form of unhappiness. Man, I got this new car, but I ain't happy with it. That's because the happiness came uh, from the car, so to speak. And it's only temporary because the car is going to lose a new car smell. The house is going to lose their new car smell, the new husband, the new wife, the promotion. Everything is going to lose that newness to it because it's going to become normal again. But when you got your happiness dependent on it, then the happiness is going to subside as well. The excitement and the enthusiasm that's going to subside. That's not going to last always. That's just an emotion. It's a great feeling emotion, but it is just an emotion. What's emotions? I'm sure y'all heard the saying energy and motion. So if it's energy and motion, it's going to do something else. Motion means to move. So it's going to move from a state of enthusiasm to something else. So we don't want our happiness and our joy dependent upon the house, the car, the clothes, the girl, the man, the relationship, the children, this, that, and the third. We want to find that inner place of peace and joy internally, so that no matter when you do get the new job, when you do have a new car, okay, I'm gonna enjoy it. I like it. But when they lose that new car smell, I'm still enjoying life. I'm still happy to be who I am, and I'm gonna keep on moving. Okay. So it diminished in intensity, so it seemed, or maybe it was because it became my natural state. It just integrated it. I got used to this new level of consciousness and awakening. Don't mistake the integration for losing something or lack. When a new car smells wears off, you didn't lose anything. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's always remain in that present state, okay? Let's keep going. I could still function in the world, although I realized that nothing I ever did could possibly add anything to what I already had. Again, day to day going to work, getting a new car, getting new clothes, getting new women, or maybe you lost a car, maybe you lost the clothes, maybe you lost a woman, right? It doesn't really matter because um, what's the line? I realized that nothing I ever did could possibly add anything to what I already had. That place of being, a present, the now moment, nothing is going to be better than that because that's where you are completely. the now, the being, the presence, the essence of you is always in the now. It's not in the future. It's not in the past. It's not in those negative thoughts in the past. It's not in those thoughts of worry for the future. It's not in the house. It's not in the cars. It's not in the clothes. It's internal. That presence, that awareness of who and what you truly are, that's always there. It's never going anywhere. And that's the space where you can rest and have your joy and peace in, because that part is eternal. That part can't be taken away from you. No matter what, you can't take that away. It doesn't diminish. It doesn't go anywhere. That's the true essence of who you are being. That's the source. That's the God. That's the universal consciousness. That's the infinite intelligence, or whatever the term it is. That's who you truly are. Everything else externally is just a play. It's just something for us to do. Okay? Let's keep going. Let's see. Oh, no, no. I got one more statement here. It says, I realized that what everybody was looking for had already happened to me. He'd already gone through that awakening process, right? That's what people are looking for. They're looking for a sense of wholeness. We think we're going to find it in the new job, car, this, then the third. Don't get me wrong. They do bring happiness. I'm not here saying don't go after the car and the clothes and the jewelry, the women, the men, and all that kind of stuff. If that's what you want, go for it. Enjoy life. But that sense of joy, being, presence, the eternal wholeness that you're looking for is coming within. It's not coming from those things. Those things are only going to bring temporary excitement, so to speak. I really don't want to use the word happiness. Temporary excitement and enthusiasm. Okay, let's keep going. It says, I understood that the intense pressure of suffering that night must have forced my consciousness to withdraw from from its identification with the unhappy and deeply fearful self, which is ultimately a fiction of the mind. And again, all that suffering that he was going through, the negative thinking, that's not really who you are at your core and your source. And so he's saying that suffering, just something caused me to figure that out, caused me to be aware of that. It caused something to crack open and realize, oh, this suffering, that's not who I am. That's not my identification. I'm not suffering. I'm something else. If I'm something else, what am I? I'm this internal essence, this being, and I only find that in the present moment, not in the future, not in the past, not in negative thoughts, not in positive thoughts, not in any of those things. Because even if they positive thoughts are better than negative thoughts, of course, but they're still just thoughts. Do they help put you in a better mood? They do. Do they help raise your vibration? They do. But somewhere, some along the line, if you're depending on the positive thoughts, you're going, when they fade or go away, then so does your happiness and your joy. And what I'm saying is, you don't have to depend on thoughts at all. Thoughts are useful. They have a purpose, but we don't want to get lost in them. And if you get lost in the positive thoughts, then you're probably going to get lost in negative thoughts too. So we don't want to get lost in either. We want to be able to remain centered and in being and in presence, and utilize the positive thoughts when we need to, and not even have negative thoughts anyway. Okay, let's keep going. What was left then was my true nature as the ever-present I am, consciousness in its pure state prior to identification with form. And again, identification with the form is this body, the cars, the clothes, the narrative that we play in our mind when things aren't going right, as well as the narrative that we play in our mind when things are going right. I'm not going to identify with those thought forms or the physical form of this physical body, because if your health diminishes, that can cause you to go in a state of depression as well, right? So we're not going to get upset and down on ourselves if we catch the cold. Now, our health is not in 100% space, and we're not feeling good. That could cause us to have negative thoughts, and it could just cause us to spiral. But we're not going to allow the cold, catching a cold, or the car breaking down, or the promotion, or the new money, the big house, the new relationship. We're not going to allow that to change our being, so to speak. Okay? The presence and the essence of joy and happiness is always there. It doesn't go anywhere, because that's who and what we are at our being. We are source. A lot of times it just gets covered up and we just lose sight of it. Okay? That's why we got this book. It's going to bring us back to where we need to be. Okay? Where we at now? Down here on this third point. Okay, I dwelt in states of such incredible bliss and sacredness that even the original experience I just described pales in comparison. So he's able to be in this state of bliss, and it was even better than his awakening process, is what he's saying. It's better than the awakening process that he went through, even though that was great experience. There are greater things to experience, and he's able to get there at will. Okay, he's able to go into that internal space again because it never leaves you. You can go there at any moment. We just have to find a way, not find a way. We just have to realize that all these external events that's happening, again, good or bad, they don't control who and what we are at our essence. And he's found a way to tap into that essence at will, no matter what's going on around us, okay, good or negative. Of course, we want to enjoy the good and the positive, but we're not depending on it, okay? Let's keep going. The most beautiful experiences come and go, right there. The houses come and go. The new relationship comes and go. The the new job come and go. And go might not necessarily mean you lose the house, the relationship, and the job. I don't mean that you're losing it. Again, you don't have to go through suffering just to get to happiness. You don't have to. A lot of people go through suffering to get to that awakening process and to make a change, but you don't have to. So you might not, these beautiful experiences, you might not be losing things, but again, the excitement element and emotion is going to subside. That's what's going to happen. The new car smell is going to go away. You got a brand new Corvette or Lamborghini, great, but the new car smell is going to go away. That don't mean you don't got the new Lamborghini anymore. You just got used to it, okay? You just got used to it. All right, so the most beautiful experiences come and go. More fundamental, perhaps, than any experience is the undercurrent of peace that has never left me since then. Again, the Lamborghini now is not 1 day old, it's 6 months old, but you still have peace and joy from within. Okay, maybe you're not in the Lamborghini anymore. It's in the shop. You got to drive a Volvo. You know what I mean? But the peace and the joy is still there. No matter what happens, the peace and joy can never leave you. Okay, and we want to remember that. And when you get to the point when it never leaves you, you won't necessarily have to remember it because that's going to be the state you operate from on a regular basis. But we got to get you to that point, okay? So let's move on to the next one. Later, people would occasionally come up to me and say, I want to have what you have. Can you give it to me or show me how to get it? And I would say, you have it already. You just can't feel it because your mind is working way too much. Your mind is making too much noise. Okay. Your mind is making too much noise. Now, what's happening is everybody's looking for this sense of happiness, this sense of joy. Like, I got to get happy. I got to get joyful. I got to get this new car. I got to get this new such and such, such and such, such and such. But when you live in that rat race and you think things are going to make you happy, what begins to happen is you're doing so many things that it starts to cover up that sense of being, that sense of presence, the present moment. It starts to cover all that up. And you start to lose sight of, okay, the eternal joy, peace, and happiness that I'm looking for is coming from within. It's coming from this present moment. It's not coming from the car, clothes, jewelry, relationships, promotion, job, and all that kind of stuff. Those things are great to have, but my sense of self is not tied to it. I'm not attached to those things. Where do I find my inner peace, joy, and happiness in my sense of self? Is when I become centered, calm, and I can go within and say, okay, I am this eternal being. I am source, connected to source, universal consciousness, whatever the term, God, whatever the term is that you want to use. When you realize that your sense of self is there, it's always eternal. It's not going anywhere. It can't go anywhere. Then you have this eternal, internal sense of joy and happiness that's not dependent on external things. Okay, so it's already there. We just tend to, we've been programmed to think that it's not there. It's with the new house, with the new car, with the new clothes, with the new woman, with the new man, with the kids, with the two cats and the dog and all of that. It's outside of ourselves. So now all we do is goal set, and we do everything to achieve this goal, achieve that goal, achieve this goal, achieve that goal. And we always in a constant rush and movement to get these things because we think our sense of wholeness is there, and it's not. We've been programmed to think incorrectly, and that's why we're suffering. We have to find out how to think correctly and have the proper perception so the suffering will go away, okay? And again, nothing has to physically happen. You just have to raise in consciousness to get there. And then this book helps to do that, okay? That answer later grew into the book that you are holding in your hands. Before I knew it, I had an external identity again. I had become a spiritual teacher. Remember, Eckhart Tolle was sleeping on park benches. He was so blissed out and on cloud nine, he didn't have a reason to do anything because he had already got to that point of, I'm good. I know what life is about. I'm eternal. I'm experiencing bliss. I don't have to do anything else. But again, that that intensity subsided, so to speak, as it integrated. And it's like, okay, I got to get back to day-to-day life now. You know, gotta not got to, but house note, mortgages, wife, children, family, work, this, that, and the third. But the eternal bliss, the undercurrent of peace that has never left me since then. That undercurrent of peace is gonna always be there now. So now he's in a space to where he can help others grow. And now in this new enlightened place in space, this awakening space, he's produced books that have helped millions of people. He gives lecture where he can help millions of people, and he's operating from from the eternal internal space as opposed of the external one. And once you get that internal moving right, all the rest of the stuff just happens. It's just side effects. You get a great life, you get the house, the car, the clothes, the jewelry, whatever, 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 but you're not attached to it, okay? So you begin to grow in consciousness, grow in wisdom, and you begin to detach from all the external things, okay? So let's see if we got anything else. Key points. We pretty much wrapping up. We're at the end of this thing. You don't need to live in the past. Remember, Eckhart Tolle said he don't have much use for memory or the past memory because why? Because the now is what's bliss. The now, the presence, the eternal me is what's happening, so to speak. So I ain't even got to be thinking about the past like that. I don't have to be stuck into the future because the now, right now, is what's happening. Okay, peace and bliss may appear to alter in intensity. However, this is just the integration of them. So, again, you get that new job, it's great. You loving life, you're on cloud nine. And then after a while, it just becomes the normal. You've integrated it. This is the new job now. It doesn't mean you have to be upset and sad and unhappy now. It's just that this is a new job. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to go through day to day. And as you live your life, you will set other goals for yourself and you will achieve other goals, but the now doesn't become obsolete. You can enjoy life through the progress and the progression of reaching these goals and checking off boxes on your bucket list, so to speak. Okay. And the last point here, even the most beautiful experiences come and go, yet peace will remain. Like we just said, as you go along life's journey, things come and go, but you will always remain in a place of peace and happiness. Okay, that's where we're going to end it for right now. We're going to go through this whole book. And like I said, it's going to bring a lot of peace and positivity in your life just by raising your consciousness, raising your thought processes, removing all of the foolish and negative thinking. It's a powerful book. You ain't got to wait on me. Go get the book, read it, study it, listen to the audio book, and just raise your consciousness, y'all, okay? If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you riding with me. Remember to do the like, share, subscribe, all that other stuff. If you want to send me some financial love, I sure appreciate it. You can do it at buymeacoffee.com/peace and positivity, and there go my cash app. Or you can just scan the QR code, right? This is the coffee one. You can make a financial offering. I'd appreciate it. And this the cash app. Made it real easy. You can just scan it. But y'all come back, check out the next video. Let's raise in consciousness. Let's spread some peace and positivity in our lives and other people's lives. And, let's just enjoy life. So y'all take care. And I'll check with y'all in the next one. Peace.